mi lusimi pinis. Mi lusim susu. Mi govat orsem mangi. Na mi govat ikamatem papa blomina. Mi lukim we praman. Mi lukim na mi no guru gustret. Mi plet no guturu. Na mi bokro krai.
Wakaraji webea kunai mkanje na ingi yuko kupalu ibab nai mimba piara ni piara nuruba ni redon nai mseraki kaya mjana kadi ki kara ibab indaki ko kupalu ibab nai mseraki kaya ibi mi kajamano ngwire ya kanda ungu piara ibe mini ya mlo nai mamu bar kanda ya mari oro nai mseraki kaya seraki kabor o pena mabara mani ibu para ya maka kabor urunya kara me piara ibab ya ba wamba o anda kara piaru bi.
Well, we never kill people to go and look for gold, or we never killed them because they tried to stop us from looking for gold. The only reason that we killed people was simply if we hadn't killed them, they would have killed us and all our carriers, all the people that were with it. The gold had nothing to do with it.
New Guinea was one of the last places on Earth to be colonized by Europeans. In the 1920s, the Australians occupied only the coastal fringe of this huge island lying just to their north. Of the interior, nothing was known. No European had ever been there. Australia, the occupying colonial power, saw its role as bringing civilization to New Guinea. Along the coast, missionaries busied themselves saving souls, while the plantation owners put them to work. It was cheap labor. But by the mid-1920s, New Guinea was hard hit by low world prices for its few products. There seemed little to attract the white man. And then, in 1926, gold was discovered a mere 40 miles inland. Hundreds of Australians came up to New Guinea in search of the quick fortune.
The great day has arrived. Dredge number 1 is completed and ready for work. The official opening is an occasion for celebration and festivities. The floating monster's arrival from civilization thrills the Kanaka as much as the white man, and he throws himself into his task with zest. You will understand how the native has benefited by these activities. A long time will elapse before he shakes off the shackles of barbarism, but his contact with the environment of the white man must inevitably hasten his progress along the path that leads to civilization.
Within a few years, the small-time miners had worked out their claims, or saw them bought out by the big dredging companies. Most of these men drifted back to Australia and the dull queues of the Depression. A few stayed on, convinced that somewhere else in New Guinea there was more gold to be found. Among them were 3 brothers, Michael, Daniel and James Lay. The eldest and acknowledged leader was Michael Lay, who died in 1978. He is survived by his brothers Daniel and James.
When I went to New Guinea, I was young and I suppose pretty thick in the skull to go there in the first place with malaria and all kinds of things. But anyhow, when I got there, I went there and I didn't think I was going to stay there very long because I didn't like it. I got the fever and I didn't like climbing mountains and wasn't particularly mad about the people. But anyhow, I stayed there. And when I stayed there for the benefit of James Levy Lay. And I didn't do badly for him. But I stayed there for 50 years.
When the gold rush broke out in New Guinea and Mick left Australia to come to the gold rush, I had just left school and it was in the middle of the Depression, and I had got a job up in North Queensland working on a dairy farm. Well, my only thoughts from then, after I'd learnt that Mick had gone and the gold rush, was to get to New Guinea and be doing the same things as Mick was doing. A lot of people say that Mick had the gold fever. Well, we all had it. So you can imagine what terrific excitement it was that I was at last almost on my way to the promised land.
Spurred on by dreams of another great gold strike, Michael Ley turned to prospecting. The obvious place to look for new gold was the interior, where no European had ever been before. In 1930, the interior of New Guinea was one of the last great unexplored regions then left on the face of the earth. Rising up in the center of the island was a great mountain range. So sheer and rugged, it was thought to be uninhabited. But unknown to the outside world, within these mountains were huge and fertile valleys, and in these valleys lived 1 million people. Michael Ley and his companions were the first white men to enter this hidden world and meet its people. Ley was looking for gold, but he took a camera with him, and so a record of this historic encounter was captured on film. The year was 1930.
Nesra masamek, emi hat pramani true. One pramani no can steer, ino can ibagrapi mugakatenno, ino can paiti mona pramani emi hat pramani true. Na emi kababro pressure bro yumi na emi. Bi pramani bro yumi ya na mi putin piga ya em. Masamek, mekirai. Emia, nani praman mekirai.
Mick was always the leader of our party. He always went in the lead. He was a born prospector, I think, you know, and he was a very, very good organizer, and he got very well with all the native people. The carriers all looked up to Mick as the leader. But he was very kind, but he was very hard at the same time.
Mick was always confident we would find the El Dorado before we had finished our travels.
As long as there's a crate further up the valley that no one else has had a look at, that's a good enough driving force for anyone.
But it was very, very hard. When you're right out in the center, there was no way of getting back, only the way you came. For about 90 miles, we had to walk to get to the place where we decided to cross the ranges. Well, then we had to climb up to 9, 10, 11,000 feet. The reward in the end was when we looked down into the valleys below, it looked like a big parkland. Of course, it was quite obvious that there was a huge population because of the huge garden patches.
When we got into the real new country, we used to hear them on the top of these hills, singing out to the people ahead. And then you'd hear it much further away on another hillside being repeated. They'd be watching you come, and they'd be on a little hill in some place, on top of a gully or something. And they'd see that we weren't the enemy coming up, that we were different, absolutely different. They thought we were spirits. We were so different to anything that they'd ever seen before because they'd never ever dreamt that anything like us existed. They had no idea of civilization or what existed outside their part of the world.
Ana imi adi tikira mo ele dani jai po makibero lokali mana no babe teli pili tikira ka wono boko malabe tikura ne boko ne ga ne minune ba ne boko minuni kene no wina ku tirene hasu hasu ge mai na be likine ali kine na mo ne be kana mo ne ne ura be be ko na ma ne be kuruma ku imane go pele ma kai ma hasu hasu mai na be lika wono ne boko
Historiko ikam na orito koe. Oro mani ai no man brong kiraun. Ati de saramani oro brata bromi prao o tupuna bromi prai daina. Igo oro hapna. De sara time ori no lukim le sara hap ro kaina tu santi. Ori lukim le sara. Mau tentason ori toko ati no katman le sara hapna mi prata sol. De sara time ori sa. Tinti oro seme na ori toko. Igo tasol le sara hapna tani mwe. Sigin pro ori tani mnara para na we para na ikam. Moro ato kuro mi praya. Na yumi no ken su timor. Mani tai pifoya ori go tani we para sigin na kama.
We'd get into camp and we'd put all the cargo in the centre and we'd put this fish line right around and no one was allowed inside there. Well, then you'd get all the mob would sort of converge in on you all around then. They were very inquisitive about anything you did or anything you touched. The only thing we could do was to talk in signs to them. We didn't know a word of their language. We had no means of communication. We had no interpreters.
La oro pilis man blogor. Karim desara oksak blogor irong. Sota blogor oritok. Ori no kria ku tiro resara na orito ko moro karim meri brogol. Pruma pimro pirum na karim. Na ol pasim raborab na pasim red. Na painat ista brohab. Na orito oro merino ken lukim. Oro merino ken lukim. Kok pro resara oro rania iro plato masina raunim na. Ori haitim. Ipratino kenirap. Ori lukim le sera oro raborabna, oro trausis. Ori putim lo sigin bro ori chok. Ati emi ori no katepe kiana. Ai no kaperes bro pepe kitu ya na ol kara mapim le sera samtina. Ol pepe korse mone ori sa ting prandi. Na ori sa story go ikam.
You'd have these hundreds of them all around you all day, yelling and shouting and rushing up and down. And sometimes I used to feel about 4 or 5 hairs go out of the back of my leg, and I'd look around and the fellow would be wrapping up in a banana leaf. Sometimes you'd see them pinching the hair out of the dog's back. Or anything that we touched. Even if you spat along the road, there'd be a stampede to get it. On several occasions, we'd come into a village, and all of a sudden there'd be a woman rush in and grab one of the arm boys we had with us. Apparently, he had a very strong resemblance to her son that had been killed in one of the tribal wars. It looked as though she was dead sure that it was her son that had come back. Or she thought it was her son appearing back from the dead. In the beginning, they thought that we were spirits that had brought these people back. We couldn't speak to the people, and it was very hard to get away from that village. They'd say, stay here and we'll anything you want you can have. We'd say, oh no, we don't want to stay in the one place, we're looking for gold. Well, you'd leave the Marys there still weeping, and we'd just move on then to the next place. They wouldn't follow us very far. In some cases, they wouldn't be able to follow us very far on account of the boundaries. You know, it might be the enemy country further on. We used to look for a campsite about 12 o'clock because in the afternoons when you usually get the afternoon rains, and we'd like to have our camp and everything up before the rains came. Well, by the time we had the camp up and everything went up, there was a huge lot of people around. And of course, we had our boys that used to buy the food.
Na pigi mi para makim na toko. Oh, you para go kisim mi go show him something na toko you para kisim pigi kam. Mi para makim pigo le sem. Pigo le sem na emori kisim. What doni go? Doni go now kisim one para pigi mama. Emi kisimika. Ori kisimika. Ori bulukim corn. Ori bulukim kisim cow. Ori kisimika. Na mi para paim now. Paim lo kiri. Na pigi paim lo kumo. Na bulukim rap. Digirik. Ino bulukim bi para rap pasin. Emorsem nu para kanaka.
So simani sapra orokana kai height na luguru koriko pepek pinis. Hori kamne tokai muruman no evene oriko pepek ro ser happy. Na ori rusim ne sera perese ori karapi ko pinis no hapro kafuko igor se mora hasaro. Paranti mani sabi koruguru kune kam. Ikoruguru. Na simari no kutina em pepek ya wani kai or semi praia. Sigini pro hori kama por sem nara prakai.
The first time you go in, they're curious and frightened. That was the first reaction. The second time you go in, they'd say, here they come again. We won't let all that treasure get through our hands this time. Because most of the people wanted the trade to get more knives and axes and things which they didn't have. You can imagine the difference between a stone tomahawk and a good steel tomahawk. So they were very, very anxious to get the trade. And they thought we were weak and we couldn't protect it. And so they said, we'll get them in. Next time they come, we'll get them in. They can sleep here, and we'll kill the lot and take their gear off them. We'll have all those axes and all those knives and all those gold-left shells and all that small trade. That was the attitude. The first thing we tried to do, to let them see that we weren't unarmed. We were armed, and we had good weapons. Well, that gave them an idea how much power there was and what it would do to them. It went into them and out the other side. And we'd say, well, now, we don't want any trouble when they look like attacking. And we'll do the same to you as we did to the pig, because we've got the guns to do it. You leave our stuff alone, we'll leave your stuff alone. We're just looking for these stones in the creek beds as we go along. That's all we came to look for. In one or two occasions, they got up and said, well, the poor old pig can't dodge like we can. It really took a bit away from the power of the gun.
Sabas kanaka kimi kai pig na kimi kai em kupra pasin inokan yupra inokan tarabe no kanaka
Na mi pra kamat
yumi peren kupra tasar kanaka ida
Ni para kama poli pai ni para biar
kama from fight supaya bonara rukim supaya bonara inokan fight quick too inokan shooting more sorry rukim or shooting supaya bonara kam ne pasirong chup pasirong no bonara supaya pasirong one per man broyumi all right shooting kill him inokan igo shooting quick sorry em talk inokan popai mas shooting through inokan giaman popai Mary be para tabu Mary picking be para tabu
Nanta ni prasuti.
We mumbale me kono menya kete kali bu para tik me kono nga ya ini tik me kono menya kete ya ente. Oke ya tendu ngor ngaten pange di neji di nama rondo di pudu. Kurwa bono menya tinge ten rondo di punje bu wagal ruini ni. Kurele enjo baru mi ya kurele wadi ya ten kali nagri bono menya jangan nomba ile mo ba di ba. Wadi ile omba me dege buru me kana. Wadi me ruru me. Meme kanda mbindo betul, orang gerak-gerak ni jijim ni pende. Kunduai kanya, makan jarak ibu gerak-gerak ni jadi kita. Gerak-gerak ni jadi kita, nana meja. Ini nuo mor punya bidang boy ni mana ye ni pende.
Ni kira ye mi sitong paraman. Mi sitong paraman belum pahit. Nah, hal paraman tulu dong wokupat. Emi sutim, ino sai popai. Emi sutim mani siteret na emi putan kuitu masih. Emi sutim wan para mandong kuka. Emi sutim wan para rong suave. Emi sutim wan para rong tortiwara. Emi sutim wan para rong vena. Emi suti wan para rong wabek. Tadi suti planti. Sampara man planti. I think 9 para emi suti rong tadi.
All we did, and I think it was quite right, was to save our lives and the 90 carriers we had with them. Because once my brother and I lost our lives, that would have been definitely the end of all the carriers that we had. They would have been killed out of hand. It would have been a mass slaughter. And as the big chief, he said in his address, when we calmed the interpreter down and he told us the whole story, he said to them, they've got all these wonderful things that we need, axes and knives and shell. Look at the shell. Look at the things that they have. They can't fight like we can. All we got to do is to go and just take it off them. Now, when I kill the first one of these white men, when I throw the spear through and spear the white men, you rush in and grab the people, kill them, and this will be all ours. Well, as he went to throw the spear, Mick shot, but as the whole mob rushed, so did all the Bosch guns fire. Well, there was only one shot fired, and of course there was a terrific barrage when there was about 15 guns or more went off.
Ba marina bune indi une be. De ngoi me chianda. O bela ga de pa jien ko ma ga da ga da biya la. Aga da ga da ko ma ga da ga biya la. Aga da ga da ko ma ga da ga biya la. Tian du ba bo bi ko. Ambo ko ba bela ni piji mi piji.
Mino ya gane ngom.
Ngoni pi.
Ki ta ga ngoni be ba ji yande. Uni bi ngoni ambo ni be ba ji yande. Uni bi ngoni nemba ni be ba ji yande. Uni bi ngoni ruire ni agale don. Inde ngiongo be ba ji yande. O ga yi gembo mera yungo. O aga mino ya gane ko kiego mundu mera ngoni be ba ji yande. O uri ya gane ngomba pingili gi piu.
Ngoi menda yu gi pi.
O yengi kiega ba yu babu garaba yu pe u nare mo ga gi babu.
O namba da gi pi.
Well, it was the order of the day, I suppose. The government allowed you to do it. And anybody who got got killed or wounded, you had to put a report in and that had to be investigated. It wasn't a matter of going along and killing someone and no investigation made. There had to be a government investigation made behind you. There was no such a thing as you just killing someone and that's the end of it.
The administration's attitude was a lot of the people, they didn't know much about those things. We never reported those things that happened. I mean, there was it was just one of the things that happened on the trip. But that was a rare occasion, and hadn't we been killed on that trip, there would have been, we had about 90 carriers with us, and they were all foreign people to these. Well, they would have been all wiped out too.
For several years, the Lays searched the highland valleys for commercial quantities of gold. They were unsuccessful. They began using aeroplanes on their prospecting expeditions, flying out over unknown country to survey the land before venturing in by foot. It was on one such flight that the Lay brothers first looked down on the Wagi, the biggest valley of them all. Soon after their flight, the Lays walked into this valley, and here at last they discovered gold. They set up their final base camp, surrounded by 250,000 more people whose existence had not even been suspected by the outside world.
There were not so many around the first day, but the next day there was a big crowd arrived. They were all in one long line, and they'd come in with the food and sugar cane and stuff like that, and to show that they were friendly and they wanted to trade with us. But I think they did think that we were something a bit more than ordinary human beings. It wasn't very long before we had more food than we ever could hope to use. And they were bringing more and more. You couldn't stop them because they just went wild after the trade. The beads we had and the shell and the axes. I think out of all the people on our trips, the Hagen people were the easiest and the best of the lot for us to deal with. The big men had come forward and he'd address us. I forget now, and I don't think we had a, no, we didn't. We had no interpreters in. But they used to stand up there and give speeches as though we knew every word that they were saying. We'd try to explain to the people that we didn't want to steal their ground. We just wanted to straighten it out for this big bird to land. Of course, you couldn't talk to them, but you'd have to explain as best we could with sign language. And they helped us. And we used to give them shell and beads and things like that for coming. But they really enjoyed it because they'd sing and dance around. They didn't mind the stamping of the ground to pack it up after we had filled in the drains they had around their gardens. They loved the opportunity to have a big sing-sing around the place. And you'd have hundreds of them around sing-singing all the time.
they tell the natives a few days before that, you know, on their hands, that so many days the Balus had come. They didn't know what a Balus was. A Balus was a bird, you see. Well, they said that this bird had come and he'd come out of the air and it'd make a noise. They'd make a noise like the plane. I think the thing that struck them most of all was the fact that we could sort of tell them that we'll sleep 2 or 3 nights and out of the air will come this bird and it'll fall down here and it'll bring all these things, and out of its belly someone will get out.
Magiyet na barusikam na urito kirauti by burukuna or get something by put on me prakisimi or papa mama bromi or story or same na masa make it talk emi makim rohani or same barusi by kam or same now the thing to or same oh by kirauti burukuna something by he come down or get kanaka kamapuna walk.
I remember the day the first plane arrived on the Wagi Strip. I had a good pair of binoculars and I was watching for the aeroplane and I picked it up about 20 minutes before it landed. And I said, well, here it comes. They were more or less terrified, didn't know what it was.
Paru sini ne, medana kaya to kaya lukone ne gana ne namu. Paru sabor nama musima kolibero kuni kera kaya kaya kau ni mo ne mikasilo ima sahara ro kau boli sini ne numukuno tuni ke nagami kubo kunu na kuni ke kisi una solo kubuni.
Una ori ke taman meri ori hori pasi mori ori krai no gutru ori toko baba tete baba yumi finish tru. Na masa meki go na paitim bros bro na paitim sigini brori toko inogat emi brigim kakoro yumi nogat.
The pilot, Gabaski, was a very tall man, about 6'1" or 2, and he had a flying suit and a white helmet with these great goggles, and he got out of the plane. Then he opened the door and Kingsbury, the geologist, he got out of the inside of the plane. There must have been 3,000 natives lined up along the airstrip. And they were absolutely amazed, the people, and just looked up with wonderment. They didn't know what next was going to happen.
Itola, detio nene. Sipi apoki sinene minimari milikaki. Nama lirori kago hopi minaki. Nama no rukone ne maguti mane bokoro kago arege bade kuri ke rogo rita bide kohere bege na mane wakine kirabero kuri ke. Yo te ame te here bege na ne wakina bero kuri ke. Arege sanuko. To nama ru aro kamariro kago turu aro kamaro kukone ne to mane maguti boko. No ri wone ro kago nene. Arege bade kora ko kaka.
I'm looking on the bright side, though I'm walking in the shade, sticking out my chest, hoping for the best, looking on the bright side of life. I'm waiting for the right tide, and if luck comes to my aid, giving me a break, I shall be awake, looking on the bright side of life. Today I'm in the shadow, tomorrow maybe the clouds will lift and let the sun shift over to me. I'm looking on the bright side, though today's all care and strife, I can wear a grin, keeping up my chin, looking on the bright side of life.
Jeremy Penat more of each more to pay with an age of going to be a legend. Legend cannot be many Mungal, can be Ije gum de. Oi be ana gen. Ije de. Rồi. Chắc bây giờ đâu. Bây giờ đâu bây giờ một cái. Bỏ cái bây giờ. Để vô đây chứ. Một cái phu như gì mình rồi. Ba cái mo be pa cái. Ya mấy cái cái nan những cái chân nan như. Nan như bây giờ mấy cái này lên đây như. Giờ mấy cái. Thế chứ kan pa. Bukan yang kemarin banyak kagak ije kau jom mep kudu. Lo bây giờ mấy cái bây giờ mau udah kan nyata kan aja piam gitu ngamen apa itu. Berkami itu kunyo yang dia gue udah. Udah lu nara pun bon kan guna. Nah kuliah punya kan bukan apa pun nyetim. Kocok je. Kocok dia. Ini apa ke? Udah jadi. Kalau banyak dah kepada nyonya cocok nu. Dah jangan apa jangan bawa aja. Jangan jangan tak aku. Apa jangan tak aku.
I'll tell you a thing that was very impressive. A celluloid doll, a big one we brought up. Some of the women went for their lives when they saw it when we brought it out. And they were very curious about that. They used to come back for weeks after to see this pickaninny.
It was fortunate for us that there was a big tribal war not very long before we arrived, and the people that lived on that land were scattered from one end of the Hagen area to the other. So it was a no man's land when we got it. There was no owners to it. And the people who chased the rightful owners from the country, well, they said we could go ahead and mine there. And the prospects were very good, and we got pieces of gold to about 10 grains in weight, which was very good. The best prospect we had struck in all our trips. So we had to wait till the geologists came out and their engineers came out from Wau to examine it. It was quite wonderful, really, the thought of what we might get, because the El Dorado was always at the end of our trip.
Mick decided that one of them should go down and see how we did live down there, that we weren't all walking around guarding guns and protecting ourselves and all that. So we spoke to the Kanakas and said, what about coming? And they said, no, we won't go. But in the end, they allowed one of the kids to go.
Istabro mountain hagen emiga pranti pikinina istabatem masadeni emi na bogani bos po provenia na yu pra rukim emi bi pranusi emi mi sitani yu pra ka rukim wati mani kisimi emi mamila emi ora na emi mi yu pra rukim wati mani no kisimi bi pra emi kisimi rigirik masame ki yete kisimi na putimi ro parusi na itoki mi lesera masaito emi wa no guti karap ora yu tu pra sitani watem. Ora jina masa sitau nana mitu pra sitau ne watem. Oro mama bromina, papa bromio ri tokro semo, papa bromoni before inda ya mi kisimi amigo finish. Na uri storo romio ro sem. Raisi ya ori toko yuno kani kai, miti ya yuno kani kai, lesera samji ba yukai kai na ba yuko welia. Mi putani ro wau. Mirukim sapra house, clean pra house, sapra re pra house, sapra we pra house. Na ting bromio ro semo mi kama pro presi pro tebeli na ba mi welia. Mi ora semu now. Mi tiki ro mama bromina. Mi cry liglig.
And he took him down to the ocean, and salt was the thing that they were always short of up in the highlands. And they said, well, taste it. And the boy tasted it, and then he said, get me some bottles and I'll fill them up. They'd found out bottles. So he filled up some bottles of water and tied them up because he wanted to take them back, because he said, when I get back, they won't believe me that there's so much of this. Well, then he saw a horse, a young, small horse, and he said, pig, pig. So they said, I know horse. Well, he'd never heard of a horse before. So he said, well, give me a bit of its tail and a bit of it here and there. So as I can say, well, look, here it is, and here's a bit of it, you see. So he got a bit of that. And the same with everything else. When he went into his shop, he'd take things, because he didn't know anything about paying or buying or anything like that. So they said, well, give it to him. And so, of course, he landed back eventually after 4 or 5 days. They didn't keep him there very long, because they wanted to get him back whole, or otherwise it could have been very nasty if he hadn't got back. And when he got back, he had all these things, you see, and he said, he started to tell them. And he said, there's a bar loose. He said, this one has only got one here, but he said, there's one down there, it's got one zzz, and one zzz, and one zzz here. And he said, there's pigs as big as this, and you know, the salt, he said, you know, as far as the eye can see, you know, it's full of water, full of salt, you know, they tasted it, and you know, the lap clothing and things like that, oh, there's plenty of it. And nobody has a gun, they all walk about, and everybody's sort of friendly. And because they didn't believe him then, they said, oh, it can't be that good. So they all wanted to get in the plane and go there. Well, they were real bush Kanakas, and they were very primitive. They had never worked at any job before. See, it was always hard to get labour for plantations and mining on the coast, but for mining in the highlands, where there was only one miner, well, it wasn't very hard to get them. There'd be hundreds of applications for a few jobs.
Before me pra one man yeti posim. Na resra pasin pinisi na resra wet pra mani kam. E moro luen na turuturum posim mi pra orket. Ori yeti tokoro wok mi presa horim wok. Na ori yeti makin terong tai por horim wok. Em resra tai mi pra no sai popajalo habilisim. Mi presa vianim. Em resra tai mi pra no painin peslo mani. Monitor mi pra no look sabe. Na mi pratintindo kumuna taibum na samtiblo sorvara kinana emoro sera samtita sol mi praidakin.
I think for one shell they do about a month's work. We used to order it from Thursday Island and then be flown in. Sometimes we get 1,000 then. Wealth was the great thing, the big thing in their life. They judged a man by the number of pigs and the number of shells he had, mostly.
Aku ni rumah iligan kan, ilmu ada mau berumur. Ini berumur kan, meg iligan punya berumur kan ini res. Ini ni kan, meg ni kat kara kan dengan penal kau kuteri. Meg mat tangga ini kan nal kau kuteri ni. Na, ayam kayak pernah orang mau, ayam kalau tak noi tu mau kan ni, na kan ngam pakai kegal kau kalau kau pijitir. Tapi mereka kan ngam meg kalau mereka kan piam ilah kali. Ilmu. Nanga tumul na kurugoi meltik nanga tel kamera kan kewa yi marung kana kam kele kan kana alfa met kan am kurung met tukun durung lo tingka mel mel kan yam ili kan na ma pas lai
pete yim pok ne durung na pok
mo le ma kan mo kurung pok mo bag maning kil bir mo bag tural dan tingel ama tara yin ko ma tirum pok te pok le pok pe ol tika le pok no mo ruwen bilerum pok le kan yim ol to ko gai ma dirnge te kan kan to mo ko Udah ngampung apa berkata ini menunggu ni nggak tengah dua kapan itu tiga mati kan ni berkata ni nana orang mau ini kan ya men begini ni benar begitu
tiga kan tu nana ini am kau lagi burung lagi mau kau marah kan tu
kau lagi burung kan kau lagi burung lagi kan kau tahu ni kau wan week mek nama kau lagi tep murung tep kan jiman kan ngok mel bangorong udah beb murung begitu iya kurang berkata ni betul Wun ba melgit ben apa mon wa ma ba juna melgit bi tum botet ngam bonga ya ni menurut ngai tengah na wu ka ba na murmur ya ka epin nanam ti burum bogan antina na wu burum bo mo ma men ngan wa am ba gan ti kuri ti gan ne pin man gan gan ni mari ba pa ben bana puri gan ang wo di go de wan ba ga ab ga ni men ni gan ti gan ne nanam ab ga ti ni
Agil be vlog pun agin nu yugun dulu kan mundumong te kan korot te tem karena nampan ne peluk mo.
Mundumong itu buri itu gondi.
We am ma megel dirin kan
am ba mel te dengan kan bukan itu buri itu bukan. Mundumong itu nada buri bukan gondi kan itu boro ba ma buri. Nan man ba am bigi itu pa ma. Ngana ya reng na jadi nimbreng ba am boy boro gumane na ya reng mana intena kan mel ya mel boro na amang bagi.
Pe kang montu kan ne kang montu nu montu kan gain ni mo ko mo kan.
Ma. Nana mo mbo kono la to ga me bandri. Ena mbo kono la to ga me bandu bete. Tule mundu kan ba ni wam ko mundu kan ba babu.
Oi be am bang lau to ba wer kare dir me gang ko nu no mo wer kare ba tur mo le. Mbo ya bang bibili ko kan bi la ba mo gurum am ba ga to mo gurum bibili ko kan ya dirin. Be gang ti bulu bu kan ya ga ba mo mi ni kan ya tu ko ina.
And before true, Robert man ino come up. Ino come up na mi play no lukim Robert man na. Mi play yeti posi molo kita something. Pait na, tayo bro kai pik na, tayo bro sinsin na, tayo bro sari meri roman. Na wet man I come up nu play rong resara airanis. Ori kisimuan pra dis blogor na, kisimuan pra pi pra sabor itu. Kisim sabor na pluma pim le sarawesan ikam ni sa tirong disina wasim long wara. Mi pratingi morsem. Before tu puna belum mi pera, orang ma papa belum mi pera, mi pera saya kukim na. Tai mori dai mi pera saya kukim long wara na. Mi pera saya kausim bun blori gorong wara. Na mi pratingi morsem, mori gotani nu prasigin blori na kama morsem. Bue peraman na kampe kiken na. Wasim le sarabun blori. Orsa peraman ori ting ting orsem. A mi play no criatura le sera time. Na now le sera time mi play isabe now. Ori kisim le sera moni mi play sabe kai kai longen ya ti ori kisim long ground lo mi plan na wokim lo kor moni.
Although it wasn't an El Dorado, we were millionaires or anything like that, or anything like millionaires. We'd made a very, very good living out of it. We were able to pay the natives well for everything, and that was the main thing in the country, to be able to give them, to barter fairly with them all the time, and it was more than fairly. But I don't think there was anything in the native way of life, as far as developing the country or for their own good, that they had anything that was better than what they have now.
It was no good trying to say we weren't colonials, we were. And I can remember there was a fellow came up there and he was in business, and someone called him a robber one day. A European, this was. Well, he said, I didn't come up here to get a suntan. So, you know, I think everybody was the same. It's no good me trying to make out I went up there for the good of the natives, because I didn't. I went up there for the good of James Levy Lay. I didn't do too badly.
Meglai ya kun ke burum ilgan yani meg ne ga bukan naga ke bar tu dan meglai kun meg morum ne burum bute bon turum ne olgan burum ne ilgan
illu kan binjin
eli ay gar burum gur kaya na
meg ne burum
meg gor burum na gelment ke ne kantil ke na adu angante bent ko to to ke nu wo ke ne bent ma kana
senoi
kana
Kono timbuna ke kundu ke igor ngen timbuna wa bi kiba murni ga
I'm looking on the
bright side.